Hello there, how are you doing? Welcome to 2023 and welcome to I would want to say local park, but it's actually just the nearest park to where we live when we're in India. So it's about half a mile away because they have a habit of not actually including parks and things when they build. But I just wanted to check in with you. I've got myself a coconut. There's a coconut vendor just beyond. And so I'm going to sit and drink this coconut with you. This is one of my favourite things in the whole world, is kind of fresh coconut water most days. And I just wanted to see how you were. Love it if you just let me know how you are down in the comments, if you're kind of, a regular follower or so on, in, wherever we come together, whether it's on the apps or through the open space or the garden sites or here on the YouTube or Instagram or whatever. I'd love just to kind of hear from you how your year has begun and so on. And I just want to express my gratitude for you. I know that for someone like me, whatever that means, or for like this body and this expression, the platform's never going to be very large because the algorithms, well, my work is kind of anti-algorithm, and I think this being is kind of quite anti-algorithm. It doesn't work with the way those machines work. And so that leaves a massive opportunity to actually be free to actually speak because we're not having to please the machine, So I've used that my entire life to feel freedom from, in a way. It's interesting being here, that after being in the UK for 3 years solid, no way out of the UK, with the situation there and so on, and the lockdowns and things, and then the way that the situation has now kind of become there on so many levels. My physical health was suffering sort of terribly. I basically almost crawled onto the aeroplane after submitting my taxes. And just the kind of the sense of the energy there was really affecting this body very badly. The soul is fine, but the pressures on the body and the pressures on the mind, the pressures on the psyche and so on, those are very real in that world of conditioning. And the body exists in that world, and the physical self exists in that world. So it's really important for us to be congruent in our way that we make our world. And what we're seeing right now, and the UK is, I think, really quite leading by example at the moment, of how not to make the world congruent. There's something in us at the minute that has lost the love, lost the feeling of the love, and so we're just kind of going for whatever we can get out of the limited situation that there is, which actually is an act of great cowardice on everybody's part, on the world's part, quite honestly. I'm not into dualities and divisions, but I would say that politicians, priests, and kings, and people who think they own things the world over, they're just going for what they think they can get out of a very limited things. It actually shows the poverty of their situations, in a way, that they impose this fear of life upon everything they can by sort of strangling things at the level of kind of the first layer of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basically. 2023, by the way, seems to be the year of me speaking a lot more directly about things. So, if you are journeying your spiritual journey, you feel the call to your soul, or the love is inside you, then lean into that. What's been really interesting arriving here is that there is a really strong earth energy here. Like at certain points in the world, in Glastonbury you can feel it very strongly, the kind of the heart energy, for example. Here in India, there is a sense of pran, a sense of abundance, a sense of the earth just wants to kind of create food. And it's an absolute testament to Jagat conditioning, to the conditioning that makes the world, how people don't feel into that and are cut off from it. And it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen the film or read the comics, Akira, how this uncontrollable monster just is devouring everything sort of in its path, and kind of, you know, not really being one with nature. It's kind of like malignant, it's out of control. And this is why we don't have many parks here, for example. So they build and build and build and build and build. Government backhanders here, and money going there, and business this and business that, and all sorts of vested interests, and yet no vested interest in actually congruence with one's soul. Gosh, I thought I would start off gentler this year, but it's just not happening, is it? It can only get worse from here, I'm telling you. So so I've been on, maybe, how long have I been here? This is my 10th day, 11th day. And the first week I've pretty much been on bed rest, with kind of absolute exhaustion. So my physical system was just literally kind of overwhelmed. And it even brought me to really doubting whether I could go forward teaching, with having to kind of work within those conditional energies. And I even thought not to make a video today, quite honestly. There's been a little itch to make a video because I actually enjoy communicating with you this way so much, and you know, it's just you and me, that's it, it's just us. And I'm not here to convince anybody of anything, you know. We've been sold so much bullshit in the hope that it's going to do us good. And what's really been coming up for me, I actually wanted to write this in the next book, but I don't know if there's going to be a next book at the moment, because the publishing world wants to publish about limitation, it wants to publish about identities, it wants to publish about whatever will sell books, you know, to a specific set of people who identify a certain way, be that this way, that way, whatever. And what's true about us is beyond all that. I mean, those things are expressions, but what we've moved into in, you know, living memory or the last 200 years or whatever, is a kind of an uplifting or a rising up of the individual egoic idea of self, which needed to happen, you know, moving away from the old broken religions and so on. But again, in that, we have forgotten about love. And even love is a problem, because our entire conditioning system exists to place everything outside of ourselves. You know, so we're shown love outside of ourselves. We have to love our parents. We have to love the country. We have to love the flag. We have to love our team. We have to love this. We have to love that. And then when it comes to us needing to feel the love inside us, because we've been taught so deeply that it's outside of us and that we have to love these things first, we try all sorts of nonsense, like saying affirmations, you know, like I am love, or I am abundant, or I am manifesting, and all sorts of, you know, things that just, you know, just stuff to sell you more shit. And somebody's going to do well out of that and kind of get out of the system, you know, and then they'll say, hey, look, you know, I've made my way out of the system. But we're all just kind of standing on each other, you know, it's pathetic. So to rise out of this mediocre nonsense that we've been engaging in, really, we've got to start rebelling. We've got to start rebelling. If something isn't working, like an institution, and we've tried and tried to bring life and congruence to it. If it isn't working, be that politics, religion, the way we're living ourselves, we have to rebel. And we rebel by not being all spiritual about it and pretending the thing's working and everything's okay. Burn it down. Just burn it down. You're better off without it. Belief, not belief, none of that matters. Belief doesn't lead you anywhere. It's still not knowing. Not believing, you're still not knowing. It's only when you know that you know. And so until that point, we work with as much congruence and awareness as we can. That's all we can do. And it's so simple. It's just so simple. I'm not asking you to start a new religion, believe in me, you know, even take on what I say or like the way I say it or anything like that. But if it isn't working, get rid of it. Just get rid of it. And at least then you'll actually have that energy back, you know. And it needs some fire. It actually needs some fire. The soul and love are not some, you know, smooth kind of FM radio sort of jazz, you know. It's rock and roll when it needs to be. It's you know, throwing the tax collectors out of the temple. It's you know, setting the house on fire and saying, burn, burn, I'll do without. I don't need your stuff, you know. Because we don't, and we need to be. We're not going to make it if we don't actually start kind of getting some fire in our loins. And that's okay. It's okay that that the human race doesn't make it. The world has done pretty well without us, and we're so vain that we think we're, you know, we can take it down with us, and we're doing a pretty good job of that. But eventually, it will just shrug us off, like it's done before. You know, we'll have an ice age, or we'll have a tsunami, or we'll have a something or other, some kind of Holocaust, and it'll shrug. But if we're here, and we realize that the soul is, and the world moves past us, we can then begin to make the world. You know, I saw a yoga sign yesterday, just out for a walk, and oh, I wish I'd have made a nice video now. I saw this video said yoga can heal the soul, and it sounds great, that, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound wonderful? And yet it's completely wrong. Yoga can't heal your soul. The soul can't be made ill. The mind can, because the soul is that kind of fragment of God in you, you know. And that's untaintable. And so we've always got that. But yoga can restore the physical system and the mental system and the psychological system and the human system, so that we can actually hear that quiet voice inside of ourselves that is the, I say God, but I also say the what is. We've got to get out of this and start making some fires. But the fire begins in our own hearts, not by adding another ego to ourselves, a spiritual identity, or thinking you have to belong to something. There's nothing outside of you. And, you know, love is not outside of you. You can't find love if you haven't got love. What you will find is not love. What you'll find is something that makes somebody or something that makes you think you feel love inside yourself through that projection. But the thing that you feel is still in you. You know, it's got nothing to do with them, in a way. And we do that in pairs and in groups and in thises and in that's and in tribes. And, you know, the lack of substance in that is incredible. And we think that bit of love that we feel, that's as much as we're going to get. Or we give up entirely and we turn into, you know, like the political class or something, or the business class or whatever. Money has a place in the world, but we're not using it properly. We're not using it as a resource. And And the world has a place in the world, but we're not using it properly. We're not congruent with it. We're not making the world a place where we've decided it's fit for us to be. We're just trying to rig the game so that we just survive long enough to get out and feel like, you know, we didn't kind of struggle down at the bottom too much. And it's falling apart. It's literally falling apart. And, you know, if you're in the UK, I invite you to look. And if you're outside the UK, I invite you to look at the UK. But it's not unique to the UK. It's everywhere, you know. Every country has just got its own version of it. It's just that the UK is kind of, you know, leading that race in many ways right now, which is why I'm kind of making an example of it in that way. And I've got to go back there in 2.5 months. So I've been journaling like crazy to kind of create some strategies for myself, but I'm not sure it's tenable. I'm not sure it's tenable, and that's not giving up on the country, because there's no such thing as a country. There's only land, you know, and being. The people and the land are one, but there's no such thing as countries. That's just an invention, again, to put something outside of ourselves that we're supposed to believe in. So, you know, never mind all that nonsense. And I know it's not a message that's popular because you're meant to die for your flag or stand for your country and all this sort of thing, but you're just standing for some false duality, if that's your way, you know, and you stand for your flag and salute your national anthem and so on. Nothing there, nothing at all. Just ways to give your life away, and you're worth more than that. You're worth more than that. Your soul deserves its chance to express in action and to make this world. So you are the key. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world, but not through some affirmation, dream, BS, but shaky, not knowing what to do, but feeling into our souls. It will find its way through. It will begin to shape your form, and then you will begin to shape the forms around you. We've been taught to keep even our spirituality to ourselves. I don't mean we go out proselytizing and trying to convert anybody, but you know, you can clean your own house and make it a beautiful place, but why not clean another sort of 10 yards around your house and allow that to affect the world, and plant flowers. In fact, don't plant flowers these days. Let's plant food, you know. Let's start moving away from ornamental trees and gardens to just allowing the earth to feed us. We could do that so easily. It's just one world, and it's just one us, and we're at the changing point right now. We're at the point in this dark time where we either listen or we don't. And I don't mean to me, I mean to what's actually in you. I love you very, very much, and please forgive this rough video to start the year. I just, as I was saying, I wasn't sure how I will continue, inverted commas, teaching or holding spaces. I did think my poor students, if they would tolerate me just being absolutely silent for a period of time. I did think about just making silent videos and just kind of being, and maybe that's a much better thing. Maybe I should just scrap this and make a silent video. I don't know, you tell me. I'm just full of nonsense anyway, so just don't pay any attention to this non-algorithm friendly being with his coconut in a park on a Sunday morning. Lots of love.